Rick Ross is one of the most recognizable names in hip-hop, a man whose voice alone commands attention and respect. Known as the Boss, his music paints vivid images of a life soaked in luxury, power, and the gritty hustle of the streets. His lyrics are filled with stories about drug deals, prison time, and criminal empires, narratives that helped build his larger-than-life persona. But behind the spotlight and the platinum chains, a question has haunted his career for years. Did Rick Ross fabricate key parts of his past? Did he exaggerate or even invent stories about his criminal background to boost his image and credibility in the ruthless world of hip-hop? To understand this controversy, we have to rewind to the early days of Rick Ross's rise. Born William Leonard Roberts II in Miami, Florida, Ross grew up facing the challenges many young black men endure: poverty, violence, and limited opportunity. But unlike many rappers who come from documented histories of crime or hardship, Ross's official record tells a different story. Publicly available documents show few, if any, serious criminal convictions, which directly conflicts with the persona of a notorious drug kingpin he portrays in his songs. This discrepancy sparked suspicion and outrage among fans, critics, and fellow rappers alike. One of the biggest points of contention revolves around his use of the name Rick Ross, which belonged to another man, a real-life drug trafficker named Freeway Rick Ross, infamous for his massive cocaine empire in Los Angeles during the 1980s. The drug dealer's exploits were widely covered in the media, and he became a symbol of the crack epidemic's devastating effects. When William Roberts adopted the Rick Ross moniker, many assumed he was claiming to be the same man, or at least connected to that legacy. The original Rick Ross was not pleased. He publicly confronted the rapper, accusing him of appropriating his identity and reputation without permission. This clash added fuel to the fire, forcing fans to question the authenticity of the rapper's backstory. The feud escalated publicly, with diss tracks and heated interviews on both sides. Some rappers, like Slick Rick and others, openly mocked Rick Ross for his lack of real street credentials. They argued that in hip-hop, especially in the subgenre of gangsta rap, authenticity is everything. The idea that Rick Ross might be fabricating a criminal past struck a nerve because it challenged the genre's deeply held values about truth and survival. Many fans began to view him as a manufactured image rather than a genuine product of the streets. Rick Ross himself has offered a complex response. In interviews, he has sometimes admitted that his persona is inspired by real life, but doesn't mean to imply that every detail is a direct reflection of his own experience. This distinction between storytelling and autobiography has been misunderstood or ignored by some critics. He describes his music as cinematic, a form of expression where exaggeration and drama serve to entertain and connect with listeners. Yet, this explanation hasn't fully quelled doubts. The line between artistic license and deception is blurry, especially when money, fame, and street credibility are at stake. Digging deeper, we find more contradictions. Police and court records from Miami show little evidence of major drug-related arrests or convictions linked to Rick Ross. There are minor offenses, but nothing that matches the scale of the drug lord image he portrays in songs like Hustlin' or BMF on Blowin' Money Fast. Some critics argue that even minor offenses wouldn't justify claiming a kingpin status, while others believe any criminal past, regardless of scale, is enough to claim authenticity. This debate splits fans and scholars alike, illustrating the complexity of truth in hip-hop storytelling. Industry insiders shed light on another angle: the role of record labels and marketing in shaping artist personas. It's widely known that labels encourage artists to craft compelling backstories to attract attention and build fan loyalty. The music business thrives on myth-making, and Rick Ross's persona fit perfectly into the mold of the charismatic drug boss, a character that sells records and commands respect. This strategic branding blurs the line between fact and fiction, raising the question: is Rick Ross simply a brilliant businessman who understands the power of narrative, or is he deliberately misleading his audience? Those close to Rick Ross from before he was famous offer a more grounded view. Childhood friends and early collaborators describe him as a determined young man focused on music, not a life of crime. They remember him hustling to make it in the industry rather than hustling on the streets. These first-hand accounts complicate the narrative further. They suggest a different path than the one his music implies. Yet, fans often overlook these voices because the myth is more powerful and marketable. Rick Ross's relationship with the real Freeway, Rick Ross also reveals tensions about identity and respect. The original Rick Ross publicly demanded compensation and recognition for the use of his name and story. Though the rapper has defended his right to the name as a stage persona, this public dispute brought legal and ethical questions to the forefront. How much of an artist's persona can be borrowed before it becomes exploitation? The answer isn't simple, and the ongoing tension highlights the challenges artists face when crafting their image. The controversy has affected Rick Ross's career beyond just public perception. Some collaborations and endorsement deals were reportedly influenced by the doubts over his past. Yet, many industry peers and fans continue to support him, emphasizing his talent, business acumen, and contributions to hip-hop culture. This split shows the evolving nature of authenticity. Is it about literal truth, or is it about the impact and artistry? At its core, Rick Ross's story touches on broader issues in hip-hop and society. The genre has always been a blend of real-life experience and creative storytelling. Many rappers exaggerate or invent elements to create compelling music and build personas. The commercial pressures in the music industry push artists to develop distinct brands, sometimes at the expense of literal truth. Rick Ross's saga forces us to confront how much we value authenticity versus entertainment, and whether these concepts can coexist. Even as debates rage, Rick Ross's influence is undeniable. His music has shaped the sound of modern hip-hop, and his business ventures extend far beyond music into spirits, fashion, and media. He leveraged his boss image to build an empire, raising questions about whether the myth was a necessary tool for success. For some, Rick Ross is a genius storyteller. For others, he is a symbol of the blurred lines between reality and performance. In the end, the truth about Rick Ross's past may be layered, part genuine, part crafted. It's a story of ambition, identity, and the complex dance between reality and persona in the world of hip-hop. Whether you believe he faked parts of his past or simply used artistry to build a legend, his journey remains one of the most fascinating and controversial in music history. As fans and observers, we are left to decide what matters more, the literal truth or the powerful story told through the music. Rick Ross's legacy challenges us to rethink authenticity, storytelling, and the very nature of fame in the modern world.